I don't have a red button yet, but it looks like you do. So we're going to say
yeah,
we're recording.
I sure do.
You have a red button?
I see. I heard the ding, and there it is.
Well, that's great. Then that's all that matters. Welcome to another episode of the Wild and Crazy Guys podcast. You know what I found out this week, Mr.
I heard on you. I think.
Just showed up on my end.
Okay,
just showed up
here
on
we
my
go.
end.
Start from the top.
All right. Okay. Well, here we go. Welcome back to the Wild and Crazy Guys podcast. You know what I found out this week, Mr. Wayman, is there are several students at the school at which we work who really enjoy Saturday Night Live.
That's good to hear because I think that one of the things that we always talk about is who is the wheelhouse demographic for the show. And I mean, for you and I, talk about us, but when we were in high school, we were big fans. And Lorne Michaels always does say that the best cast people think about nostalgically is when they were in high school. So I do wonder how students consume at this day and age. When we were younger, we had to watch it live.
Right.
But nowadays you can watch clips, you can watch just the highlights or watch the whole dang thing the next morning or whenever. So I think I am curious how many people in general, but also younger people actually sit and watch it at 10:30 Central Time, like we used to do.
I'm going to say not many.
Yeah, and that's the sign of the times. I mean, it's right. Like you wake up Sunday morning, like maybe some viral clip catches your eye, maybe you watch a couple more, but I really doubt. And probably not many people watch from beginning to end continuously. Maybe they piecemeal it together, but I think it's more of indicative of the era we're in than about young people in general. Because I'm sure young people still watch the show. The show still does have a grasp, and especially with certain guests like this week. I think like Nick Jonas. I think we'll have some teenagers tuning in just to watch him.
Well, let's hope that they're not in the audience because I don't want any more wooing.
Okay. All right.
Did not need that.
No. So we opened up cold open. We had a Britney Spears themed talk show. Is this a real thing or no? It's not a real thing, or is something?
No, it's not a real thing. I don't know if you've watched the Britney doc on Hulu or not, but obviously timely with Britney, the Free Britney movement. And I actually said to one of the kids, I thought Chloe Fineman did a fantastic Britney Spears.
She's a great impressionist. I mean, that's one thing that I think she's kind of had an up and down season, but I think we started to see shades of it last year, especially during the SNL at Home. Her impersonations, when they're good, they're really, really good. And this, I agree, this was very good. I am not a Britney follower, really. I'm aware of what's going on, but I didn't know, like the Dionne Warwick show, that apparently was a real thing. So I don't know what's on TV these days, speaking of TV, but I thought this maybe it was a real show that Britney had this people on that she enlightened them.
Britney is not allowed to have a show just yet, but I can't remember. I saw some article after I had watched it on Sunday, and somebody had written, and I thought it was very true, that this sketch was Saturday Night Live had a lot of things to do, and they didn't know how to do them, so they just put them all together. And I thought that was really accurate.
That is, there's some definitely pieces of that I think work. And so this was, Britney Spears' theme was Oops, I Did It Again, people who made mistakes and kind of them dealing with the fallout from these mistakes, and leading off very predictably with Ted Cruz. And not good at impersonations, but always funny, I think, is Aidy Bryant. I mean, she did Andy Reid. She did Bruce Arians in the Super Bowl episode. Her Ted Cruz is not that good, but it works.
Yeah, it was. I have to go back on what I said last week because I know I'm getting kind of tired of seeing her impersonate men, but it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, and obviously they roll her out there, and she does a good job with it. I mean, this was low hanging fruit, right? This was like, yeah. I'm surprised they didn't do more Ted Cruz stuff in this episode, but yeah, it was pretty predictable.
Colin Jost got playing Ted Cruz.
Yeah, it's true. It's nothing special, but it's kind of some good, easy one-liners. And then Pete Davidson comes out as I was mixed up. Is Andrew Cuomo is the governor, or okay? Yeah. I mix the Cuomo brothers up too much. And this again they got some pretty dark places with this one. I'm not trying to say he's not exempt from comedy, but I mean, this is a pretty dark topic. I know, like Ted Cruz leaving for Cancun is not. It's weird, it's odd, but like, and people in Texas were struggling, but like this Cuomo stuff is really dark.
Well, and I think both parts of his sketch both parts of his piece were kind of inside baseball, because I didn't know anything about the New York retirement home scandal until I saw it on SNL. And then the talks about Disney World, how people never die at Disney World. That's a well-known little kind of fact amongst the Disney community that Disney will do that, so that they say nobody ever died in the park. I was wondering if that was like common knowledge or what, but that's a very real thing.
Now, I think the New York piece was starting to break out, and I think if you follow certain people on social media, the right wing media was very much all over this piece, obviously, but it was starting to come out more and more as being a very serious and very disturbing story, and not looking good for Mr. Cuomo. But I thought Pete Davidson did a nice job with the impersonation.
Really did.
Now, who was the third guest in that? I forgot to write down who the third person was on that.
Cecily, and she was.
Gina Carano. Gina Carano from Mandalorian. I thought her impersonation was very good. It wasn't great overall, but I think her impersonation was solid.
I don't know who Gina Carano is, so I'm going to go with you.
Well, speaking of Disney, Disney canceled her last week, so
she was canceled.
A lot to say about that. So this cold open was really, but it was a good like hodgepodge of stuff that came together, and it wasn't anything like outstanding, but they checked a couple of the key boxes and had a fine opener. It wasn't great in my mind, but it was just really good.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine.
We then come out with our monologue, and our host Rene-Jean Page, and I could have written this monologue in my sleep. Full disclosure, I have watched the Bridgerton show, and my wife also does enjoy Rene-Jean Page, but this was very predictable, very obvious, and as we'll talk about a lot here, the crowd really got involved in some ways that was not really productive to the show.
The crowd was too loud and too obnoxious, and we saw Chloe Fineman as what is the girl's name on Bridgerton? Is it Chloe?
No, it's Daphne, I think, and then Phoebe's the actress's name who plays Daphne.
We saw her in that role twice because she played it quickly in the monologue here, and then later on in another sketch. And before we started recording tonight, we were both saying the perfect word, I think, for this episode and this cold open: bland, nothing special, bland.
Yeah, for sure. And someone commented like, who allowed the bachelorette party into this taping of the show? Because I'm not against like the crowd getting energized and getting into it at times, but there were some moments of the show when like the cadence and timing was thrown off on bits because people were making noises, and I don't know. It's like this doesn't seem to me the time or place to do that.
There was we'll get to it. We'll get to it. But the pirate ship sketch was really thrown off because of their nonsense.
Yeah, we'll get to that one later on. So this was a fine opener and very predictable. Nothing too earth-shattering in that sense. And this is at 10:44. The end. It's about 14 minutes. So good timing and pacing early on. Our first sketch was a talk show. And I didn't totally get this it was basically about how some of these black actors have British accents, and that threw off Ego Woodham as the host. And I put it here on my show notes: "Hoots in the crowd" is happening in this one, and it's kind of a weird bit. Ego Woodham sold it a little too much, and then Keenan comes out as Ice Cube, and the whole thing kind of changed, in a good way.
It went from this sketch isn't savable to I want to watch more Keenan immediately.
Yeah, I wrote down something that I don't know if that makes sense anymore now, but it's like Coldy blocks or good Coldy blocks is what a good Coldy blocks. Yeah, I assume good Coldy blocks in Britain. So
yeah, that's what Hugh Grant
liners.
That's what Hugh Grant called.
Anyone but Keenan in this role in a spot, and this sketch is just falls flat. But Keenan really, as he does a lot of times, they gave Keenan the ball and he brought that thing across the goal line.
Side note from last Tuesday, did you watch the Keenan show?
I did not watch the Keenan show. No.
Okay.
Maybe we'll give our Patreon subscribers a take on that.
I obviously I'm a Keenan apologist, but I was fine with it. I didn't think it was a bad show at all.
Yeah, I just really struggle with sitcoms in this day and age. They're so formulaic, and it's hard to find something original and good. But maybe if you win me over, but after Unbreakable, Kimmy Schmidt, I don't know if I'll be taking tips from you. So it was an okay opener, not a great concept, but again, Keenan, if it's 3rd and 2, Keenan will get you that first down. He will get you across that yellow line. Next was the Loco digital short with Ego Wodum as a girl who is clearly struggling in COVID times, kind of a bit strung out. My comment here was, this is not for everyone, but it is for me. I thought it was so well written, so well done. Obviously very weird, but I thought it was very, very well done from makeup and costume and lyrics. I enjoyed it.
I was fine with it. I think to your point, it's definitely more your jam than it is mine. But I wasn't against it. It just didn't connect with me for any reason.
And I saw some of those bits were recycled. I was telling you earlier in the week, but it wasn't, because the Army Hammer line was in there. But there was some very recyclable, easy COVID-like bits to pull from here. But all in all, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very clever and well done. We next come into a sketch at a bar about some men were playing pool, and this really a lot of cast members were incorporated into a lot of the segments here. A lot of the male cast members really shined this week, and this was they were playing. It was pool, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah, it was billiards. Yeah, and the song "Driver's License" came on, and I'll let you go first here, and then I'll come on the back end because I have some thoughts here.
Well, I felt this sketch. I've lived this sketch. Working with teenagers as we do, I of course heard about Driver's License, and I thought, well, I'll listen to it, see if it's any good. And then I got pulled in as well, and I just on a scholarly level, we'll keep it a scholarly level. The theory on Driver's License is that it's an absolutely terrible song, which is true, and lyrically, it is absolutely so simple that is why it connects with so many people. Everybody and anybody can relate to the song in some fashion because the song is so easily written. And then, of course, during this sketch, they brought in the Taylor Swift reference, which is something I've been talking to the kids about for weeks now. So for me, it was very, very, very close to home because it was accurate to working with a bunch of teenage girls on a daily basis.
So basically, the song is written by Raffi, is what you're saying.
No, that's a peanut butter sandwich.
Okay, but same idea of simple lyrics, right?
Very simple lyrics. There's a theory out there for our Patreon subscribers. I'd love to go into it for you. That Taylor Swift perhaps actually wrote the song.
Okay, well, that could be. I heard the song for the first time last week before this show, and all I could say to my wife was, "Why is she yelling? What is going on in the song? What is wrong with her? Why is she so upset?" And I learned this was the infamous Driver's License song. So my comment was, I'm a boomer. I think the song is awful. The sketch was, we've seen this before, right? Of guys being like, oh, I don't know lyrics. We saw 2 weeks ago with the sports bar Broadway musical bit, right? And it's like, I don't know the words to this.
We saw it with Adele.
Start singing it. Sorry?
We saw it with Adele.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this bit so many times before. I like when they include numerous members of the cast. I like it when they pull into the pop culture zeitgeist and kind of have references that are for people of all ages. So I'm fine with it. I just didn't do it for me because I hate the song.
Some of my younger friends and even a couple of the kids reached out and said, "Did you see this sketch?" So it's good to know that they are going for people that aren't just us.
How dare they? But now this is for us. Next up is Mr. Chicken Legs sketch. And my first note is Cecily still got it. I mean, her ability to come out and be like a on the wrong side of the mountain diva is just so freaking good. After that, this sketch is just completely idiotic, but in a good way. I thought I didn't like the sketch, but it hit the right amount of dumbness for me to be like, okay, I'm fine with this. And Pete Davidson, I mean, he was the MVP this week for me.
At some point, was it this sketch where they called olive oil a prostitute?
Yeah. I don't know.
I think it was this sketch.
It was the interview.
I think it was, what was that?
Oh yeah,
Oh, it
you're
was,
right. You're right. You're right. It was.
I think it was this. But yeah, I think at some point, Lorne Michaels must have just said, here's what I need. I need 6 minutes of nonsensical stupid. And they said, well, all right, here you go. And I was all in. To tell you the truth, this may have been the highlight of the show for me.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Now, I thought interesting here they used Rene-Jean Page as the host of the show, and he was very bland and basic. Like I said the same thing every time. Like I am disturbed but compelled. Like they could do better than that for him. I mean, I don't know what his range is or what his, but he as a host seemed very stiff at times. And if he didn't have his good looks, there had been not much going on with him in this episode.
Well, and because of the good looks, there was too much wooing.
You got that right. We then go to the digital short of the interview, and the premise here was basically an ad agency that wrote terrible ads, and the company was doing terribly, obviously, but they had the impression they were doing well. I thought this was terrible. It got good when they pitched the actual ideas of the guy throwing the package into the water. But then it got weird again at the end, and so I didn't. This was a big time miss for me.
You texted me and said exactly that, and you hit it right on the head because it was good, it was bad, it was good, it was bad. If they had stopped earlier, it would have been fine. But
Yeah,
they just kept it going too long.
it's like if you're at a basketball game when someone who shouldn't be shooting the ball shoots the ball, like no, 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 and the box goes in, but yes, and then it goes out again. No, like
Yeah.
this is what it was to me. There was moments of okay, but oh no, maybe not.
Yeah.
Didn't quite understand the old premise here. We then our first musical performance by Bad Bunny. Now I knew a little bit about Bad Bunny, but not too much going into this. And I knew he was Hispanic, but I didn't know that he only sang in Spanish. And so as I was watching it the first time, all I thought was I sent you the meme of Phil Hartman playing Frank Sinatra when Chris Rock was speaking perfectly good English and said, "Can't understand a word." So
well,
that's how I felt.
I know that was meant to be Frank Sinatra. That was a pretty good Trump.
Oh, jeez. Well, there's some parallels. Now, apparently Sinatra hated Trump, I guess. I don't know if that's true.
Oh yeah. Oh, they did not. Yeah. They had heat.
Okay, so let's tone on the politics talk here. We don't want to get too political here. But this song was getting a lot of buzz on social media. Bad Bunny has a huge following in the Hispanic community. He seems talented, seems like a really nice guy. I just can't really speak too much to what was going on because I couldn't understand a word.
As you know, the totality of my Bad Bunny knowledge came from the 2021 Royal Rumble, where he performed his song Booker T and won the WWE 24/7 championship. And I was disappointed that he did not have the belt with him because he is the reigning WWE 24/7 champion.
He did in song 2.
I didn't see it in song 2.
Oh wow! Our viewers are gonna have a field day with this one. They're gonna send you screenshots up and down our comment feed.
Really?
Oh yeah. The opener he had drape over his shoulder right in the opener. I'll have to. Maybe we can refilm this piece later on and make it seem like you knew what was going on.
That's terrible.
We then had a weekend update, and my first comment here was, "Okay, calm down, crowd person." That's my first comment here.
The wooing, the carrying on. This is 2 weeks in a row because last week there was the obnoxious laughter, and this week there's the wooing.
And Jost last week was like, okay, like that's a weird reaction, like kind of acknowledging it. And Rene-Jean Page wasn't even in this bit, so who are they hooting at? Like, maybe Pete Davidson was on. Maybe it's him. This is a bachelorette party that had too much to drink. I think that's the only conclusion I can come up with.
Yeah, I was very surprised the next morning when there was so much controversy about Weekend Update because I must have missed the well, of course, I also missed the 24/7 championship belt. So who am I to say? But I missed the controversial joke on Update.
Yeah, it was Michael Che, and here we go. So it wasn't a controversial joke in the least bit, but this is so the hypersensitive piece of this, and there's an element of how people on the left wing are very sensitive to this stuff, but anything that's remotely anti-Semitic or be construed as such, the right side of things goes really full bore on it. And so Michael Che's joke was about Israel. Now half the country is vaccinated, and he says, I'm guessing it's all the Jewish half, or something to that effect, and implying that the Palestinians who are not Jewish, who are living in West Bank and Gaza, would not have been given the vaccine by the Jewish government, and how that is anti-Semitic, because if you are anti-Israel, you're anti-Semitic according to some, and that's not a really good. It's a false equivalency. And you know what? You know how many cares Michael Che gives?
None.
So I think he's going to be okay from this one.
And I heard the joke, and when I heard the joke, I didn't read into it at all. Not even at all. I just said okay, and I went on to the next joke. So there you go.
I was hearing snippets of stuff on I watched this part the next morning, so I kind of caught some wind of this ahead of time, so I was prepared for it. But I thought the joke didn't really land all that well. It was kind of his delivery wasn't fantastic. The gist of it, he could have gone a lot more combative had he wanted to. So I really think it's much ado about nothing, but people just want to complain about something.
Yeah.
We had Freddy Krueger come out, or sorry, a service worker played by Heidi Gardner, who looks like Freddy Krueger. And my theory for here is that someone wrote this bit down back in like the early 1990s. Maybe it was like Dana Carvey, and maybe they were like moving some furniture around, and they came across this piece of paper written down and thought, you know what, let's do this tonight. Because when was the last time Freddy Krueger was relevant?
I thought Heidi Gardner was walking around backstage and saw a Freddy Krueger costume hanging up and said, hey, we should do something with this. Because there's no other explanation for this sketch.
I think both of our theories hold water, and both are very possible, but there's no theory about Heidi Gardner sitting around and be like, let's do a Freddy Krueger thing today. There had to have been some prompt into that. It's a very odd choice. They didn't quite get it. Early on, we had Pete Davidson though as giving dating advice. I thought it was fine. It was good. I like when Pete sometimes does his Pete stuff. And to me, he was the MVP of this episode. Did a great job, I thought.
I can't get enough of Pete Davidson and Michael Che giving Colin Jost the business over being married to Scarlett Johansson. Anytime they do that, I'm in. And there is a strong rumor that Scarlett Johansson will be hosting at some point this season, which should just make for high comedy.
Yes, Michael Che will have some fun with that. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's easy, and it seems like Colin Jost seems to welcome it as well. So I look forward to that if it happens.
If I were married to Scarlett Johansson, I would also welcome the jokes. Be fine with me.
Yeah, I recall right out of college, one of the first movies I saw living as an adult in Chicago was Lost in Translation, and ever since that moment in 2003, I've been a big ScarJo fan. ScarJo is what the kids call her.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
We then come back with this sea shanties. Is this really a TikTok thing?
I don't know. I have no idea what it is. All I know.
Well, I know what it is. I just don't know. I don't know if it's actually a TikTok thing or not. I don't know.
I don't know if it's TikTok. I don't know if I don't know. They said it was, and that's fine. Maybe it is. This is the problem with me. This is the problem with me. I loved Mr. Chicken Legs, and I hated this. This made no sense to me. And the reason I got angry was because they just started wooing for Kate McKinnon when she walked out for no reason. She's been there the whole time. She didn't just show up. What are you wooing for?
Yeah, I mean, it is reminiscent to me of like Married with Children, when like someone came out for the first time and the crowd went nuts. Like, what are we doing here?
Walking into Jerry's apartment.
Yeah, but even Seinfeld realized after a couple of seasons, like, okay, well, that's enough of that. We don't need to keep doing this.
Right.
That was rough, and I didn't get it. I didn't understand it at all. And it wasn't even that creative. I mean, we get it. They being at sea this long probably sucks. But you know what? For me, bringing the full cast, I like when they bring in a lot of people for the cast to show off. So it wasn't good. It wasn't great, but like it really was. This episode especially, it really brought out a lot of cast members, which, you know, I'm okay with that. But this to me fell flat.
I got nothing here.
All right.
Andrew Dismukes.
There's Mukes, man. He's picking up big time. You know what? There's no real good time to do it. Let's do it right now. Let's do the Aflac trivia question. We're borrowing a page from ESPN here. So the Aflac trivia question this week. I got a two-parter here,
Okay.
and I wanted to kind of my first take on this was it was going to be way too hard, and so I decided to offer kind of two parts to it. One really hard, one not so hard. So Rene-Jean Page is British, not American born. And so my question for you, trivia wise, is two parts. One, who is the first cast member to not be American born? And second, who's the first cast member to not be, this is kind of a hint to the first one, to be American or Canadian?
Well, okay, the first one had to be Canadian. That one I was guessing. I'm trying to think if there were any SCTV members that came on to. Was Michael McKean? It would have been before Michael McKean.
As always, you're allowed to stew on it a little bit and think it over.
Yeah, I'm thinking, and I will certainly get back to you.
Okay. So moving on with the show, then we then come to a two families getting together to have dinner. And I don't know if you notice here, Beck Bennett was like running onto the set, like as they were starting. And I don't recall his costume being any all that elaborate from the sea shanty sketch. And I always wonder, like, how often does this kind of thing, how close do they cut it? But yeah, he was walking up as they were starting the bit.
I never take notes on the shows. I noted Beck Bennett being late for this sketch. Couldn't believe it. Never seen that happen.
I have Beck was late arriving. Now, I thought this was a very weird idea. I don't quite know what they were going for here. Was this about race? Was this about Southern Christian stuff? Was this about? I didn't understand this, but I put Keenan owned this sketch. If Pete Davidson isn't the MVP this week, it has to be Keenan because he took over this sketch and said, "Step aside, folks. I got this."
I got this. Yeah. He. But I will say that Heidi did a nice job.
Heidi did. No, she did. When Beck Bennett did the worm dance, he almost got her with the back heel.
Yeah, physically, this was a messy sketch. He was late, and he almost killed Heidi Gardner. And you know what that would have done? It would have ruined Pretty Mandy.
Well, I think she'll be okay. Well, she's Freddy Krueger. She's Freddy Krueger now. So I didn't understand it. It was fine. There were some okay bits in this, but for me, it was just kind of, I didn't understand the joke.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
All right.
I'm still thinking about the trivia question.
We then come to the very respectable. Sorry,
Mike Myers.
Oh, yeah, way before that, my friend. Yeah,
okay.
way before that.
Okay.
The very predictable Bridgerton sketch here, in which they had basically the intimacy coach was out, and so they brought in these two crew guys. My comment here was, this is creeptastic. This is very creepy. Now, I also noticed Rene-Jean Page seemed a bit winded at first, and he was doing a lot of dancing in the previous sketch, so I'm not sure if that carried over or what, but that's an observation I had. But this was a very creepy, odd sketch. A couple good, kind of like very blue moments, but this kind of fell flat to me too.
Did we see those two together in some other sketch in the past in this type of role? Like a bad director or something like that?
It sounds kind of familiar, but I can't put my finger on it.
I didn't mind this guy. Now, obviously, I haven't seen Bridgerton, but I get the idea. I understand what this is all about, and it was not necessarily a family friendly sketch, but there were a couple pretty good lines here and there.
Yeah, no, it was, and I think Pete and was it Beck or Kyle or Mikey Day? I must have. It's terrible notes on me. They had some good back and forth. They had some good back and forth moments. It was just, I don't know. It didn't do a whole lot for me, but it was fine.
Yeah. Dan Aykroyd?
Dan Aykroyd was the first. In season 1, he was the Canadian representative. And in that opening season. And so, yeah, Dan Aykroyd was the first non-American cast member.
Okay, I feel good about that. That was the hard one.
No, that was the easy one.
Oh,
the next one is the first not Canadian or American.
Can I get can you tell me the country?
New Zealand.
New Zealand. Okay.
Now, while we do this, I'm gonna go ahead and I don't know if how this will work to the folks at home, but I'm gonna zoom in here. This is Bad Bunny. They're holding the belt.
There it is. Yeah.
On the opening song, just to kind of make you feel better.
Yeah.
About that. So we had Bad Bunny's second performance, which was right there, him with the belt and singing the song. Again, I couldn't understand a word. Maybe you could. You're somewhat versed in Spanish a little bit.
Well, I couldn't even find the belt. El Cinturón.
We then had the last was a digital short bit at a grocery store. The lyrics were okay and kind of fun, but kind of a dumb premise. Like, I don't know. We're really coming to the bottom of the well on some of this COVID stuff and some of these jokes. It's like the time has passed now, folks.
This almost harkens back to the Bill Burr sketch with him in Boston not wearing his mask properly in the grocery store. It's kind of a play on that. I think it's not not even totally. I mean, I know, and it's a different concentration. I know that, but the joke is still in the same family.
Yeah, at least that had the crutch of like he's just like some uncultured Boston guy. These guys were just like nerdy version of the Beastie Boys. Who, to be honest, I bet the Beastie Boys, if they were around today, still youngsters would wear masks in the store, I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it got just a little too far with the tasing.
Yeah, I agree. All right, any last guess on our cast member?
I just don't have a guess.
I didn't even know this name, to be honest with you, but Pamela Stevenson, who was in 1984, known for hosting the Not the 9 o'clock news, was a bit she did. That was in the weird non-Lorne Michaels phase, I believe, and she's from New Zealand.
Well, there you go, Pamela Stevenson.
There you go. Brought to you by Aflac for the trivia question.
He is not the 24/7 champion.
No, at least not yet.
Not yet.
But any time that could change.
Yeah.
All right. So we then had our closing credits. I didn't notice too much. Obviously, some of the female cast members were ready to get their hug to Roger. Otherwise, not too much noticeable going on here.
I picked up on nothing in the bows. The one thing I did want to bring up was we had an angry Bowen Yang over the weekend. Some Instagram posts, and I wonder if he's watching the podcast, because I've been saying that he's been typecast and he doesn't like that. So Bowen, if you're watching, and it certainly sounds as though you are, I mean no harm. I just think that you're very talented and would love to see more of you in many different roles.
I think to his point, yeah, he's like, why it's not really a bad thing. He wasn't upset that he was playing these roles, because from what we know, he is gay and obviously he's Asian. And so for him, that's not really a typecast. It's kind of who he is. I think our point is he's got a very wide range of talent. Branch out and let him show it. But, that's the way it goes sometimes. And maybe he feels comfortable in that spot and that's where he wants to be. And God bless him. That's the case.
Hey, he's on Saturday Night Live, not me. He's doing something right,
Absolutely. So that was it for this. Now we got I think not long before the episode dropped, we had the bombshell about Nick Jonas. Nick Jonas is going to be pulling double duty this week. I'm predicting a Voice sketch about the show The Voice. I believe he's the Jonas brother on The Voice.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong about that. There's 3 of the Jonas brothers, I believe. So perhaps I'm wrong there, but I think I'm right.
Joe, and Philip. I don't know the third one.
Tom? Bill?
Kevin, I think. Kevin.
And I also believe, I'm not
Kevin.
even pretend who Nick Jonas is married to. I don't know much about these fellows, but I'm kind of surprised. I don't know if the Jonas brothers were doing a whole lot these days, but maybe it's a chance for them to promote The Voice on NBC. I don't know.
NBC, yeah. No, I don't know, but we look forward to having Nick Jonas on the show.
Yeah, this is 5 in a row, and I don't want to say this is why this episode lagged, but 4 in a row sometimes becomes there's a little bit of fatigue setting in. From what I know of the show, it's a grind to make week to week.
But 5 in a row could give us a lot of Mr. Chicken Leg sketches, which would work well for us.
Yes, that's something to think about, is like the goofiness of this sketch is coming up. We don't have a lot of like news stuff happening, at least until it's as of right now. I mean, I can't think of any topical news really to pull in. So it could be a lot of the zany, wonky sketches, and that can be good or bad if depending on how it comes off. But
right, is it chicken legs or is it pirate ship? That's the question.
Talking the double duty is tough. We know that much. So we'll see how he does on 5 in a row.
5 in a row, and we'll be back here for 5 in a row. And we've enjoyed having you back here for 5 in a row. So that's
last episode of February. Last episode of February here.
This is it. It's almost March.
Almost March. That's right.
Well, we will see you again come March. Say good night, Joseph.
5 in a row. Good night, Joseph.